What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Well, fantastic, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. Who are you? What do you do? All that good stuff.
Robert Vazquez. I do everything, man. I've been in this game for over 21 years now, and it's been a slow strategic accumulation of vertically integrated companies. So we started in the mortgage industry. When I got back from Iraq, I was lucky enough to get into the finance industry, and I've shared this a lot, man. That opportunity really changed my life. I had no idea that anyone like from the upbringing that I did could have or amass what we were able to do. What I was able to do, and that's really through sales. It's really not just finance; it's just sales. And started in the finance industry and the mortgage industry, everything really went fucking awesome, man. Everything was great. And then the bottom fell out in 2008. 2008 hit and the industry was just destroyed, man. For anyone that was in the business, they left. You had skilled labor left the workforce. So you had excellent tradesmen, roofers, drywall, tile guys. There was no work to be done. The market just kind of crashed and just stalled. Mortgage professionals, there was no mortgages forever. Real estate professionals couldn't sell. You were lucky if you were able to get in as an REO agent. And people that did that, they did really well. And everyone I knew was like, man, you got to get a job. You got to get out of the industry. You got to do something. And I'm a little too hard-headed to listen to advice at times. And I just prevailed by sticking to it. I ate a lot of shit. I ate a lot of shit sandwiches. And it was something that was very, very difficult to go from like your early 20s making from living in a car. And I got to the military. I was too proud to ask for help. And I was like, I'm staying in my car. If I could stay in a tank while getting shot at overseas, I have no problem staying in my car. It's a safe area. No one's really shooting at us. To making 20, 50, 70, $100,000 paychecks before you're 20 years old, before you're 21, excuse me. So it was really hard to kind of turn down that opportunity or turn down an industry that gave me that opportunity, even though the sky was falling and 100-year institutions were going by the wayside. But that kind of evolved into a bunch of other stuff, man. I can go on talking about this forever, but essentially mortgage led into investments, investments led into trading bank debt, and then started pursuing defaulted banks and started like kind of raiding banks and started liquidating defaulted toxic assets and learned how to essentially, I learned how to wholesale larger portfolios before I learned how to wholesale a single property. I was like, wholesale a house, fuck that. I don't have
Yeah.
time for that. I'd rather do 2,000 homes in one pop and make bank. And so when I heard about wholesaling, I was like, this is a thing. And I mean, it goes to kind of show you can make money in multiple different verticals. But that led into everything else. We're general contractors, we're builders, brokers, developers. We're doing subdivisions now. So went from, hey, I can't wait to be able to buy and sell a house to, man, one day I can't wait to be able to build a house. And now it's like, man, I can't wait to be able to one day do subdivisions. And now everything that I want to do is happening. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm a hard-headed guy who doesn't like to give up.
That's cool, man. Well, thank you for your service, first of all. And that's cool you were in the mortgage industry in the time that it was in. 2008 was a crazy time to be in mortgage. I was there too. And so that's cool.
Okay.
That's cool you stuck with it and kicked ass. How'd you go from doing mortgages to liquidating bank assets? Like, that's a freaking
This is
jump.
It is a jump. And because you're in the mortgage industry, you'll go from like originator, like just a little peon. Now, when I say that, I mean like I never worked for a bank. I worked for mortgage bankers, mortgage companies. And then I started my
Retail.
own company, right? But I was still an originator. Even when I ran my own business and even though I was still running a team, I was still originating my own loans. So no matter how much I wanted to say I was bigger or better, I was still originating debt. So I go from originating debt to now me calling the special services department, special asset services department of the banks as the owner of a capital markets group. Okay. Because I was calling for my mortgage company. I wasn't really getting the same credibility. I rebranded to Countrywide Capital Group and Countrywide Capital Group's branding. The first lucky call that I got because I started cold calling banks trying to figure out how can I get access to these to these properties. And when I switched to Countrywide Capital Group and me cold calling banks for what felt like weeks, it was probably 2 or 3 weeks, but it felt like months, really. The first phone call, it was luck. The guy goes, Countrywide, because I'm like, hello, this is Robert Vazquez with Countrywide Capital Group. The guy goes, Countrywide? Hey, boss, we got Rob with Countrywide on the phone. And the guy, can hear him running over there. And he's like, hey, how are you doing, sir? I go, yeah, this is good. Yeah, this is great. Listen, this is what I'm looking for. I don't know what the fuck I was asking for. I was just winging it. I'm like, I want 20,000 loans. I want this. I want that one, Florida only. The guy goes, we can make that work. I said, I'm going to start off with a small amount. Okay. I want 1,000 loans just to test out your product. Like it's a drug deal. And the guy gave it to me. I never made that correction. So once I got approved with their system, with their war room, I utilized the access to that one war room with other banks and said, look, I'm already approved with this company. Shit or get off the pot. It was a lot easier once you start learning. Oh, we have or excuse me, we have credit scores. Banks have credit scores, and it's a camel rating. A camel is an acronym for like capital adequacy, asset management, so on and so forth. It's a 1 through 5 rating. All FDIC depository banks are rated through Camel ratings. When you're a 3+ rating, you're in danger of being taken over by the FDIC. You're on the FDIC's watch list. You have too many non-accruals. This is, by the way, I didn't know any of this. I learned this. Okay. I learned this just like, how can I do this? How can I do this? And just researching and understanding. When you can go and you can learn a lot on the FDIC's website. You can spend days researching the FDIC's website. You can just spend days going stuck down rabbit holes. Like, I'm learning about FDIC's Camel rating, how to buy banks. I'm like, oh shit, they got Helmers for sale. They got drug seizures over here. I need a helicopter. And I just found myself for 2 days looking at wish lists of shit that I couldn't buy at the time, just because it's on the FDIC's website. And I just learned, man. So I went from the originator to calling banks and trading debt. So it's easy. It's the same thing as wholesaling real estate. You acquire a portfolio of properties, you at least acquire the contract for that. You find somebody else, another hedge fund. The same way there are individual buyers that are looking to buy that one property, they're hedge funds at any given time. They're looking to buy a specific product if it meets their acquisition criteria. And at the time too, it was easier because you had guys that had a lot of gunpowder, but they didn't have the infrastructure. And that's where phase 2 or phase 3 of my companies evolved, because I always ask the question with whomever I'm doing business with, can I do anything else? Do you have anything else? Do you have any other properties to sell me? Can I provide you any other services? So one hedge fund that we sold assets to, I asked the question, the guy goes, well, I don't suppose you have a nationwide list of realtors? And I said, of course I fucking do. Of course I do. Because when I started doing short sales, actually, let's take a step back. I started doing short sales. I got very, very good at it. No one knew how to do short sales at the time. Very, very few people. There were write downs at the time. And in the process of me doing that, it created a nationwide short sale business where it was gold, because realtors, homeowners that were losing their houses were going to realtors. Realtors, the ones that were still in business, had no idea what to do. They're like, I can't help you. You owe 800 grand on a house that's worth 5. I can't help you. No one knew how to address this. I started a nationwide short sale business. The first one was a catastrophic failure. It was called the SS Express. I created a logo with a train, choo choo, cool. Then I was like, dude, this looks like a sex website. It was called the Sex Express. So I'm like, no, it's the SS shit. Let me create a new company. So we had to scrap that one because I just didn't like the marketing. When the guy said that, I'm like, all right, let me come up with another one. And it worked out to be a stupidly wild, successful company, made a lot of money, but everything was just, I didn't know the term at the time, but it was IDS. I was trying to identify, discuss, and solve an issue. And the issue is these short sales could take anywhere between 6 months to 3 years to get approved. So in that process, I was trying to figure out how can I get these short sales approved quicker? And then we did a few of them with some banks that were able to do them really quickly. And we're like, hey, how are you guys doing this so quick and efficient? And this other company over here, Wells Fargo, is taking 2 years. Like, well, we're mortgage bankers. We bought the debt. Immediately I go, shit, you can buy the debt. How do I buy the debt? I didn't have the money to buy the debt. Making a lot of money, but I didn't have a lot of money to buy the debt, not in $50 million tranches. So immediately I thought, let me try to figure out if I can contact the bank. Instead of me trying to negotiate a short sale, let me just try to buy the debt. And that's what's kind of stemmed the idea of, instead of me trying to go to the banks directly, let me try to go after the banks that are maybe have the greater probability of selling because they might be underwater. I started learning about Camel ratings, and that's what kind of led that whole process of this is what I need to do. And that was just one birth of an idea kind of created something else and something else. It was a big, just one opportunity fed the other one. But the byproduct of that phone call was a couple of years later, when I bought that debt and then I sold it to them, I said, what can you do? Those same realtors that gave me business, I allowed them to become my asset manager, my REO agents. So I became a special asset manager, flipping the debt to the hedge funds. They would give them back to me. I would give them to my realtors. Okay. So one hand washes the other. They gave me business. I gave them business. And they became REO agents. So a lot of them were able to kind of survive the recession by being REO agents. Follow-up question was, who's doing these remodels? And they're like, well, we're using this company and that company. I'm looking at these bids as the asset manager going, as an intern, I'm like, I don't work for the company. I'm making commissions and compensation on this. I'm like, this company's charging 11 grand for linoleum flooring for an 11 by 11 kitchen. This is a fucking ripoff. And they're like, well, can you do something better? I go, absolutely. I go, you own a construction company? I go, I do now? Yeah. Then I started a construction company, and then we started doing remodels for banks. That turned into us doing 3,500 remodels for a bank, for actually a couple of different institutions over 2.5, 3.5 years. That's a lot of money we made there. So we generated the money from there, and that spun off another company. And then that spun off another company, that spun off another company. So it's like, hey, what's next? We need a title company. We're already doing the transactions. Let's capture that revenue too. Hey, we want to start building houses. Let's transition and become a general contractor. That's more of an evolution, because the bank cut me off at one point. They were like, hey, you need to be a general contractor. I'm like, I'm not building houses. Why? The term general contractor is different from New Jersey to Florida to Texas. You don't even need a license to be a builder. New Jersey, you just walk in and apply. Florida, you have to give your left foot and your arm because it's so difficult to become a general contractor in Florida. So I spent a full year studying full time. I made stacked away seven figures. In the last year, I did just bank remodels, and I just studied full time every single day for 10 to 12 hours for a whole year just to pass that exam. And I failed the second part of a 12-hour exam by a few questions because I Christmas treed the last 25 questions. I'm like, shit, I have to wait 2 more months to take that test. So I did that. I came back to the bank and I'm like, hey man, I'm ready to rock and roll. And they're like, oh, we got rid of that rule like 6 months ago. I'm like, what? And you guys failed to tell me? So the byproduct is I became a general contractor trying to capture or continue to capture that business. And the byproduct ended up being that now we're building affordable housing. We're doing our own projects. So long evolution, man. This is 20 plus year ride.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's a really cool vertical integration story. And for people that go back to the short sale thing, that people that run into that situation, same situation, you said they owe 800, whatever. How would you structure that? What would your thought process be? What would you do first? Where would you go with that deal?
Well, here's the deal. That's happening now again because certain markets are busting. Okay. I believe there will be a market correction, not by any means anything similar to what happened before. Okay. There's a lot of variables that are different now than then. But certain markets like Austin that double, tripled, quadrupled in value, certain markets that in my opinion, artificial inflation just really occurred. I do think that there may be even a drop with institutional investors that bought 40, 50,000 properties. They might dump these properties now, and they are starting to dump if you're tracking this. And in my opinion, it's funny. I was having this discussion earlier with one of my team members. We believe that these guys are going to dump properties, take the write-off, and then if there's a market correction, they're going to buy them back at a discount. So let's take a step back. When I lost everything in 2008, it was a very humbling experience. I bought my first house at 23. I think I lost it at 26. When you have a bunch of kids and you're losing your house to foreclosure, it's a very, very humbling experience to lose everything. But I lost my house quick. I lost my house within like 6 months of me missing my first payment. But then right after that, it seemed like the court systems nationwide were so backed up that then people, like, if they were able to survive that first 6 months, they ended up staying in their houses. I've known people that stayed in their houses for 8 or 9 years without making a single mortgage payment, just for free. So that's what originally led that thought. Is like, how the hell did I lose my house so quickly? That's what kind of created that curiosity in me as to go from an originator who had a 42 million loan volume pipeline personally, going to make $2 million the month that the market tanked individually, myself, to losing everything in months. Then I wanted to understand, okay, I was originating debt, but how does this work, right? How does this truly work? What happens after the loans are sold? And I started learning about RMBSs versus whole loan operations. I started learning about secondary markets, capital markets. I started learning everything I could, which again, wasn't really helping me solve my immediate problem, but I was more frustrated trying to figure out how these people were able to stay in their homes. So I was able to secure another property. It was a rental at the time. And I just started learning as much as I could. And people were asking me, hey, Rob, what can I do? I go, I don't know what to do because they were coming to me as a professional. I remember reaching out and trying to Google something. I found one guy in California who had this half-assed program that wasn't put together properly. And he sold me this write-down course with money I didn't have to buy. I had nothing left to my name. And I ended up borrowing money, and I bought this course and I read it and I was like, I need to do this. Someone else called me for help. I said, I'll help you. And if I can do this, I'm going to charge you X amount of dollars. And it did. It worked out. And that person referred me somebody else, and that person referred me somebody else. And then I started learning as much as I could about it, started getting really proficient in it. And I started investing in software to help me do this. And then it just started scaling significantly. I ended up at the same time I was reading Tim Ferriss's 4 Hour Work Week, I was already deploying the things that I was reading. I was like, holy shit, I'm already doing this. This is great. I'm on the right track. And I ended up having a whole assembly line in the Philippines that were processing our short sales. I mean, I really automated. I created a great automation system. That's probably the first time I truly fully automated anything. And everything was an assembly line. We had 2,200 realtors giving us business. We had 4,000 or 5,000 deals we've done. And we got to the point where we were charging $2,500 to $10,000 per deal. So just do the math on the revenue that was being generated. We got into a little bit of issue with the attorney general, and we prevailed because there was a lot of people that weren't doing the right thing. Thank God I was doing the right thing. Thank God I was a licensed licensed mortgage broker. Florida Statute 494 authorizes you to negotiate and modify debt, which I didn't know that to the extent that I needed to when I was kind of going through that. And that's kind of what led me also to like say, well, this is bullshit. Like I'm helping people, the government's now involved. I identified an issue. How can I fix this issue? And by fixing the issue is by becoming the bank. If I'm able to buy the debt, no one can tell me what I can and cannot do with my debt. And that's what kind of led from this to that. And once we started buying and controlling the debt and flipping the debt, it was a lot easier. Like the first pool we were able to acquire, the great feeling it was to be able to tell people Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever. You owe 400 grand on a house that's worth 200 and you're 150 grand behind schedule. How about this? How about I'm going to write down your debt to, let's say, 180, and I'm going to forgive all this money, and you pay me this new loan at 8% interest rate. And now we modify that debt, did a principal balance write down, restructured the debt at 8%, kept it for a few months, and then turned around and traded that as a reperforming debt at 85%, 80% when we bought it for 35 cents.
Yeah.
We bought it from 35 cents of the UPB, the unpaid principal balance. We had a huge spread. So we were able to help a lot of people make a lot of money. And it was just a really good system, man. The transition, the evolution. It's a lot to try to wrap up in whatever our timeline is, but I'm trying to compress as much as possible.
You've got all this experience. If you're talking to the younger you right now or younger type you right now, what advice would you give them?
Go all in, burn the ships, burn the fucking ships. There's no better time to devote to anything than when you're younger. I did it I got married at 16 years old. I turned 17 a week later. I got my girlfriend pregnant. I'm first generation American. I'm like, hey, we're getting married. We're gonna do the right thing. We're gonna raise this family. And I worked my ass off. So I'm no stranger to hard work, but there's a lot of people, especially this generation, where things are a little bit harder. They like, fuck this, I don't want to do this. I burned the ships, man. I worked 20 plus hours a day for years when the market tanked because I had no other choice. I had a family I had to try to support. I had to make this work. I gave myself no other option, and I failed a lot in that process. So my success is only due to my failures. Sounds crazy, but it's not a failure. It's just another way of learning how to do it. It took Edison, what, 10,000 tries to figure out the light bulb. Weren't failures. You just figured out 10,000 different ways to not make a light bulb. I learned a shit ton of ways how to not be successful.
Yeah, it's character building.
It's character building, dude. It's character building. I just tell everyone, man, lean in, embrace the suck, work hard. And if you think you're working hard enough, I assure you, someone's going to take your carrot. Someone's going to take your cake. Someone's going to take your bread. Someone right now is working harder than you are to get what you want. So from that perspective, it's like either get in the race or fucking play video games the rest of your life. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Nicole, what you got?
Hey, so since you're in so many different avenues of real estate, like which do your favorite and why? Like which one do you lean more toward?
I love them all. I think the evolution is, look, I think you lose passion for certain things, and it's something that sucks. And what I mean by that is like, man, I couldn't wait to flip my first house. I was so into it. And then when I started getting proper mentorship, I started realizing like every house that I was doing where I was putting all these great designs in, I put so much effort into trying to make these houses beautiful and perfect. And while this still works, I'm not on HGTV, okay? Joe's Burger Shack may be a fucking great burger, okay? But McDonald's is everywhere. So that concept is to state that if I automate my colors and I automate my tile selection and I start creating a business that's automated, I could be more efficient in my workflow when I'm flipping a lot of houses. So because of that, I lost a little bit of passion because I wasn't putting my personal touch to it. But every once in a while, if you follow my videos, I'll go off the beaten path and I go, let me try some new colors real quick. Then my anxiety level goes through the roof because I'm like, this looks like shit. I shouldn't have picked these colors. I don't like it. But I've lost my passion for rehabbing houses, but I've gained a new passion in building affordable housing. And as that itself, the light may dim on that because you do that so often. I find excitement in new things. For example, developing subdivisions. That to me is very exciting. And to be able to take a raw plot of land and work with a civil engineer and create a community that families will have lifetimes of memories in. And I could say, hey, I designed that and I put that park there. Well, really, my civil engineer did, but based on my approval, I'm like, that looks good there. The clubhouse can come over here. That to me is really cool. So that's right now is what's exciting me is my affordable housing initiative and building. The cool thing about building as opposed to rehabbing, building you at least, even if it's the same home I create over and over and over, there's no replacement for the fact that you seed an idea that comes to fruition. Literally, I have raw land, I clear the land and I construct and I build a house. That to me is something that I'm creating and I love to create.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's great meeting you. Great story. Appreciate the hell out of you. Where can people find you at?
Instagram, Passive Income Cash Flow Kings. You can find me posting on there. I'm generally going to be posting on there. I've got a great marketing team too. They put some good content out there. We're going to be hosting an event here in Orlando. We have Highest and Best. We do that once a month. It's with myself and a couple partners, Justin Stamper. We have David Pulpo. We have Alex Gazada and the quick cash offer crew there. Anthony, his brother. So we have just a bunch of people that put that together. We also have Ashes and Assets. It's another local event that I do here where we smoke cigars, drink some bourbon, and discuss real estate. Smoking and drinking is optional. You guys can come and it's open for everyone. We do that here locally. And I'm an active member of the boardroom mastermind with my buddy Kent Clothier. He runs that outfit, and it's a very, very cool and professional outlet. Great, excellent people there. So you'll see me going to my quarterly events there and posting about that. Well, we're going to be doing our own events here pretty soon with respect to just free information we're putting out there, and also our capital raising. That's going to be a different event that's going to be available only for accredited investors.
Yeah, well, thank you for everything you do. Appreciate the hell out of you putting all this stuff out there. And thank you again. And great meeting you, man. You have a good rest of your evening.
All right, likewise, man. Have a good one, guys.
Good to
Thanks.
see you.